Most ERP failures have nothing to do with technology. Welcome to the Admiral Navigator, where mid-market leaders turn complexity into clarity. I'm Mike Lordi, and today I'm joined by two leaders from the Admiral team for a behind-the-scenes conversation on what actually drives successful transformation. We'll start with customer service and trust, move into what we're seeing with ERP, especially Business Central and the Power Platform, why strong process reviews matter before any implementation, and wrap with how AI fits without adding risk. This episode is not about hype, no. It's about making smarter decisions and scaling with confidence. Let's start with the foundation, customer service. All right, well, thank you, Dominick. Thank you, Ben, for joining me here on this episode. How are you guys doing?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Doing well.
Always good, always good. All right, so let's jump right into this here. Now, we've all been part of Admiral for some time now, and how would each of you describe collectively the philosophy around customer service and building long-term client relationships?
Well, I always use the reference dating and being married because I always find a lot of times like our competitors, they do a great job at the dating part until the deal closes when they really need to have a full commitment, and that's where they fall. So I like to think of ourselves as, being committed to every project we go into. I mean, during that sales cycle, everybody is going to tell you how great they are, but really until you start working with them, you don't really know the facts and the truth of how it's going to come out.
Now, there's a lot of talk in our industry about being partners rather than just vendors. From your experiences on the team, what does that partnership approach look like day to day at Admiral?
You want to hit that, Ben, or you want me to take it?
Yeah. Our philosophy is pretty simple, basic. If you're an Admiral client, we always want you to feel like someone has your back and that someone's always, in the background thinking two steps ahead for you and, proactively reaching out and engaging and, having the foresight to find things or provide assistance before, it turns into an emergency or priority of needing that assistance. Everyone's an Admiral client where they're not just individual clients that we're, measuring ourselves based on tickets closed or hours billed. We prioritize and have more pride in, whether the client's process or pain points or issues are actually being resolved and they feel like they're being guided and supported through those transitions.
Yeah, I think, to back up what Ben said, I think it's really about communication. A lot of times, partners will not be honest with the client. There's things that they're like, oh, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it, instead of stepping back and saying, hey, listen, have you thought about this? Have you gone through it a few times? Because in our mind, it doesn't make sense. So maybe it's something you should give some consideration to. I think that transparency is important. And I think a lot of, again, I think a lot of partners are just interested in getting the deal, getting it done and getting out. I mean, our commitment is more long-term and we want to be able to be transparent, be honest, also challenge them. They may want to do things a certain way and it makes sense to them, but they don't know what they don't know. So it's always a good idea to kind of challenge them and say, hey, why do you want to do it that way? Maybe think about doing it this way. It might be more efficient, more productive than how you were doing it. So, it's not just doing what the client wants you to do. It's going back to the client and says, hey, have you really thought through how you want to do this? Maybe these are some things you should consider.
I hear what you're saying, and Ben, you alluded to process. So before we dive into like the ERP and AI implementations, why do you think conducting, a thorough business process review is so essential? Like, what's been your experience with this step?
I think that, and I don't, Ben, I let you go, Ben. I don't want to seem like I'm hogging the conversation here, but I think what it is, the old way of the sales cycle was you went in, you did the highest level discovery over a phone call, did a couple of demos, had some follow up calls, clarifying a few things, and giving an estimate. But really, until you do the analysis phase, which is the requirements gathering, the process review, the fit gap analysis, defining what your data migration is, you never really know what the true effort's going to be until that is done. So what we have found successful with some, with some opportunities, not all, is doing that analysis phase as a separate engagement. And this is making the assumption that they want to go with Business Central. They're just not, they just want to get a better definition of the effort and and make sure they want to work with us. So typically what we'll do is go through an analysis phase. At the end of the analysis phase, we have a clear definition of the project scope, the effort, the cost, and it mitigates your risk on a lot on the client's end because they know going in what the real cost is going to be, and it allows them also to phase things out. There might be things they want to do, but they don't have it in the budget, so we phase that out to one, two, and three. So we just prioritize what the implementation should be, and then do the other things in another phase. I just think I'm finding that being the best way to go. And if for some reason the client wants to shop it, we give them all the documentation, we give them the functional requirements document, we give them a system design. They may say, hey, you know what, I want to shop it. Hopefully they don't, but if they do, now they have all the documentation they need to know that they're going to get a good estimate from somebody else. So that's something I've been seeing, and I've been doing a lot with our opportunities, and I think it's been pretty successful.
Yeah, to kind of add a little bit here to what Dominic said, with that thorough process and really having those challenging, conversations up front, and then also providing information and kind of feeding the customer questions to bring back to their team so that they can have those challenging conversations internally really helps, create the foundation and be kind of begin that implementation. Tech, Business Central, AI, Power BI, an app, all of those things, they're going to amplify significantly whatever's there. So having those challenging conversations and defining, okay, what's good, what's great, what's not so great type of things right in the beginning really helps define, well, can we define why and choose what, or what can change or what we want to keep before moving forward and putting technology on top of it.
So, are there specific questions or criteria you believe companies should focus on during this stage, during the process review?
Well, the questions, what we do is we provide them with a questionnaire. And that, again, that's the starting point. Now, that questionnaire is broken into functional areas. And then based on those functional areas, there's a number of questions below those. So often what we find is that a client does may not be aware that a system has the capability to do X. So what these questions do is it kind of enlightens them to say, hey, I didn't realize that was something we're doing manually, but we really could do it, more efficiently through the software. So I think the questionnaire is important because it's kind of the jumping off point of the analysis phase. And then once that's done, we have discussion over those questions, and then we go into more of a process review where we look at their workflows, because a lot of times companies have multiple systems, they have disparate systems, one system's not talking to the other system. So, you have to look at all these things when you're doing the implementation, not just, hey, I need a GL, let me go in and put that in. You need to look at the big picture because you want to look down the road, not just for the immediate need. You want to know that you're planning for the future as well.
And now, how do you approach helping our clients figure out, which business process, which processes are best standardized or versus those that might need a customization? Like, do you have strategies or frameworks that you rely on?
Yeah, what I'm seeing now oftentimes is one of the first places you can do automation is on the accounts payable side of any company. So accounts payable automation has become really big, especially since COVID, when people aren't in their office and you need to get invoices approved. So having the ability to scan those invoices in, get them captured through OCR, approved via email, that's a dramatic way to improve efficiency on that end. The other thing is another thing we see is on the banking side. We see a lot of automation there. We see a lot of efficiency built in the warehouse with barcoding and scanning, so that folks in the warehouse don't have to go into the system and enter the data. They could just do it from a handheld. When goods come in, goods go out. There's a lot of ways to improve efficiency with shipping. So those are the processes that we look at. We look at the requirements from a functional standpoint, but then we look at how is the workflow? Is Department A communicating with Department B, or is Department B doing the same thing Department A is doing? So you have to go across the departments, look at everybody, what they're doing, and ask questions. The key is also to ask questions, not just listen to what they're saying, but you want to listen to what they're saying, but you want to kind of probe them and say, hey, how you doing this? How you doing that? And just that kind of open discussion that builds the foundation of the analysis phase.
Okay. Now, Ben, I don't want you to fall asleep, so I'm going to ask you a question now. Okay. So AI, right? AI is everywhere today. Like, I
Mhm.
understand half of it, right? It's crazy what their interpretation of what AI is. So among the Admiral team, now you've seen, how do you see AI enhancing ERP systems like Business Central, um, or any system really?
Yeah, the biggest and maybe simplest use case or quick improvements, quick wins that I see with it is it transitions clicks into kind of having conversations with it using natural language to find discrepancies or explain data or generate a report or pull some you know quick comparison analysis type of things rather than hunting through and clicking through menus and filters and exporting documents and pivot tables and all of that. It kind of helps you get that foundational data set or even just that little KPI using natural language and just asking a quick question instead of taking time to go through all of those screens or having to even figure out how to do it in the first place. So reducing a lot of kind of that grunt work or manual effort. And even from there, if you do have your traditional pivot or analysis spreadsheet that you export or use regularly, you can still use kind of that or take advantage of that natural language communication and use it to generate or refine that content and say, okay, well, what about this within that existing data set, rather than having to filter it and go through rows or columns and things like that and quickly surface anomalies or trends, whether it's directly within that ERP system in BC or within the Excel or Power BI itself. It really helps kind of find those variances, um, margins, or base something on a product line or supplier quickly rather than shifting through screens and filters and all of that.
So you need a PhD to understand AI?
I don't have one, and
Okay.
it
All right. Just want to
it,
check that.
it seems to work pretty well for me.
All
So
right.
I don't think you need a PhD, uh, but no, it's extremely user friendly, and that natural language, being able to use that natural language helps quite a bit. And then also here at Admiral, our entire team is fairly knowledgeable with it, and we use it quite a bit. Help quite a few clients with it, implementing it, and it doesn't stop at here's your co-pilot license, how to get into it. There's also different strategies and techniques that we like to share and provide documentation for on they call it a prompt. What's a good prompt to get what type of information, how to communicate with it, and provide it kind of the little facts or keywords that it needs to fully understand and generate a robust, either a robust and accurate answer or a robust report for you to then take to your team and review and find things with. Then the other benefit is it really then bridges kind of that gap between the Microsoft ecosystem outside of BC and bridges that to BC and can really streamline productivity and efforts across the team.
Okay. Now, a lot of folks out there, some don't trust AI right now, right? They think there's a huge risk with AI for whatever reason. So, what best practices would you recommend for incorporating AI into ERP without unnecessary complexity or introducing that risk? And this could be for both of you.
I'll let you answer, Ben, because I know you know AI a little better than I do.
Well, really, the beginning level with it is you want to start with kind of specific tasks or questions with it. Kind of boring problems. Something clear, draft an email, um, reconcile this month, generate a quote, show me revenue based on this item type of thing, and kind of start there and get used to it, and how it works and what it's going to return, and the differences between little words or phrases that you give it, and what its return is. And then from there, you also, we always recommend keeping the humans in the loop with it. Don't just, let it run wild or blindly trust it. Use it as like a drafting, brainstorming suggestion type of generator rather than in autopilot. Um, review what it's giving you. Just do a couple quick spot checks of the data to make sure that, okay, this is what I was looking for or expecting, type of thing, and that can really provide a lot of, comfort and peace of mind, to keep getting more comfortable with it and wanting to challenge it more and ask it more questions. And then from there, data quality and security. It really, I think we mentioned it in the previous question, is that, technology, BC, and AI, they're going to significantly amplify and improve what's already there. So having that foundational data and BC set up, with having all of that clean and, correctly configured based on what you're expecting to get out of the report. So your customers, items, vendors, dimensions, all of that, so that, AI is not coming in and amplifying something that doesn't work at that base level, or isn't set up at that base level already. So that's really something we prioritize from the very beginning, of kind of paving the way for the future, and making sure, okay, this is going to work as AI continues to improve and get better and better.
I know we're not talking about products specifically, but with Business Central, which is kind of the flagship product of Microsoft for ERP, the Copilot exists inside of Business Central. Um, so a lot of that AI functionality is all there already with the agents or the prompts, I should say, that Ben was speaking about. So, there's Copilot AI outside of Business Central, and then Microsoft provides it in Business Central. The other thing is all the other productivity tools that you utilize with Business Central, such as Teams and Excel, the Power Platform, Power Automate, all that is built into Business Central, and they just kind of top it off with the AI. So one of the benefits of the Business Central product is you have all these Microsoft technologies together. And right now, AI is obviously the one that a lot of folks are focused on because of its capabilities. And we're finding a lot of clients are asking not only about AI or Copilot within BC, but how can I use Copilot outside of BC as well with some of my other, disparate systems. So, um, it's really what Microsoft has done with Copilot, not just in BC, but in general over the last year, has really been pretty amazing.
Do either one of
Yeah.
you have any examples of a client that used AI-driven insights directly and helped the client, make better decisions or improve efficiency? If you could share some of those experiences that either you or anyone on the team has been a part of.
Yeah, I think where we're seeing a lot of it. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. We're seeing it on the reporting side, is with the natural language capability. So a lot of times clients are able to build out these dashboards and data analysis using Copilot very quickly, and all these different scenarios that they're able to build out from an analysis phase. Having this information at their fingertips is allowing them to make more informed business decisions. That's where we're seeing a lot on the analysis side of the data. The data's there, but a lot of times people don't know what to do with the data. So with Copilot now and with AI, we're able to really extract that data and define it in much more detail without spending, a gazillion hours in Excel.
So looking ahead, okay, how do each of you envision AI shaping the future of ERP and business operations over the next 3 to 5 years? Any specific trends or changes you think organizations should prepare for?
I think Copilot, added on top of BC or Microsoft in general, and then also with the Power Automate, Power BI, Power App Suite, Power Platform Suite in general, it's really, I think it's going to continue its shift from not only that natural language and prompts into, automated uh, workflows or agent workflows type of thing. So there's going to be a gradual or continued shift from, if you don't want to just rely on that natural language all the time, then to agents kind of monitoring in the background, BC or fabric data, or even leaving BC, open tickets, or service orders, things like that, drafting emails, and doing those automatically. And then it's going to wait for approval before acting on those. So proposed journal entries, or purchasing actions, if it's seen tracking your inventory and monitoring that, and it sees, okay, start getting ready to um, order more bike tires in the next 3 weeks, and it's going to proactively monitor and see that and make the suggestion of, not only just the suggestion as a warning email, but come in and say, here's a link to view a purchase order that I drafted, and here's the reasons why. And then from there, the human element comes back in to be able to review that and check that before it's kind of just making that decision on its own. And that's really going to transition into kind of becoming the data and process, or turning ERP into a data and process backbone, um, kind of the authoritative system of record is what BC will continue to transition to, and then you'll have Copilot and Fabric acting as the reasoning and analytics layer, across integrating that system into all of your other productivity apps within Microsoft.
The other thing too is, I know we're talking about BC, but from the CRM side, Copilot can offer a lot there with regards to building out a
Mhm.
marketing campaign or building out, different type of marketing uh, generation, lead generation type of ideas. So, not just on they could build out a proposal. We know we could do a quote, obviously in BC, but in Microsoft Dynamics Sales, we could use Copilot to build out a proposal. So there's a lot of capability, not just with the ERP, within the CRM as well. Um, sending out email blasts, things of that nature. So a lot of gains on that end as well.
So the future is bright. Very exciting stuff. Anything you guys want to add? I ran out of questions. So anything you want to add or to this topic or anything we discussed today in
Uh,
closing?
no, I think that one of the things, again, I've kind of redundantly said this, but if you're looking for a BC partner or CRM partner, give us a shot. We offer our clients a lot. We're not a big, one of these big partners. We're more of a boutique shop. But one thing I could say, when the phone rings, someone picks it up. You're not channeled to 14 other people to get an answer. We really are. I say this all the time. Customer service is the most crucial thing, and not just in our business, but in any business. You see it in anything you do today, where customer service is just lacking, and clients get really frustrated and go other places. I just want to press that because it's something that we really stride on, and that's how we kind of build our success on being very customer focused.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Dominic, Ben, thank you very much again for joining me today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike, for the time.
Thanks, Mike.